Thank you, Leo, Ryan, Kathleen, Evan. That was amazing stuff. So I'd like to start this next session with a little real talk. Can we, amongst friends here, have just a hard truth? And that's not everyone likes blockchain. In fact, there are a lot of folks out there who really don't care at all about blockchain. Their eyes glaze over at blockchain, at crypto. They just don't care. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that and to realize that the rest of the world does not quite think the way this room thinks about this. And that's okay. I think it's important for the space's growth to acknowledge that hard, real truth. So what does it mean for gaming? It means games need to be built with blockchain basically hidden and kind of tucked away. So to discuss all of that, we have Skylar Grizzle and Matt Candler, soon to be joined by Mark Long. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So, Matt.
Yeah.
You want to start by telling us a little bit about MetalCore? When did you start building it? What made you decide to choose blockchain?
Okay, cool. Well, I come up from a traditional gaming background. I started at Activision a long time ago on MechWarrior 2. And MetalCore kind of was a theory back then when we all wanted to build a game that had player ownership of the land we were capturing. I worked at other game companies, and we built a VR game on Facebook called World of Mechs. We then took that code and said this would be great in blockchain because we wanted to do mechs and everything like that. So we started in 2021. We had this great team-based concept with mechs, and then we wanted to expand it with combat arms, with soldiers, vehicles, and tanks to build this really epic war.
So when you decided to integrate blockchain instead of going with traditional gaming, what was your approach to make sure it didn't intimidate traditional gamers and that they would adopt?
We just came back to we wanted to make a game we really wanted to play. So in game making, it's always like we're trying to play the game every day, every week. Iterative development is the way our studio works, so we wanted to get something playable up as fast as possible. We had something playable really well in April of 2022. We took the game to PAX West in fall of 2022, and we had lines around the booth at PAX West. We couldn't say that we were a blockchain game at PAX West, right? We had kind of say we were just a normal game. But we had a 5v5 PvP 10-minute experience. This was the first PAX West after COVID. We had to wipe down all the stations. But the line around the booth was just phenomenal. And I've never had a game at PAX West that was so well received.
What do you think made it stand out? I mean, I know you weren't able to talk about the technology behind it, but to get such a fantastic reception is something that I would say sets you apart, especially at that phase in blockchain gaming.
Yeah. We looked at a lot of games that we loved playing, Halo, Titanfall, PlanetSide 2, and we saw that there wasn't really a game in the market that kind of fit that, had been new. And so we thought a game that delivered that kind of gaming experience, along with player ownership on the blockchain, would be give us the best chance of having a success.
So you mentioned player ownership. Is there a way you educate your players? Is it optional, or what have you done to assist or lower the barrier of entry for traditional gamers to get into blockchain? Or can you even tell you're using blockchain?
Yeah, we can. What we did was we looked at all the different economies that were happening. We looked at some of the merging, breeding type of stuff. We were going down that route for a while, and then we kind of saw that was getting some friction. So we went back to what we would know would be a normal free-to-play type of entryway for a player. So you don't need to go through the whole process of creating a wallet and everything like that initially. You can just download the game from Epic, get in the game and start playing. There is a moment where you can convert to an NFT. You can convert resources to an NFT. We did a partnership with Immutable that was really, really beneficial, and their passport technology really makes that little integration of a wallet much smoother for the player.
So I would say last year was a pretty tough year for blockchain gaming.
Yeah.
What did you guys do to persevere through that? Because that, to me, was impressive, right? A lot of games that continued building, continued pushing, and doing what they do best. What did you guys do, and what was your approach?
It was a tough year. We kind of just focused down on, and we always come back to the gameplay, and is the game fun, and are we enjoying it, and are players going to enjoy it? And that was kind of our North Star. So we always wanted to say, are we having fun playing it? We actually started closed alpha testing in April of last year, and so we'd have players coming in. We built our own guild, so we built about 300 people. That was our guild 369. That would every weekend we'd turn the servers on and let them play, and we'd take their feedback. We started doing tournaments. We did a tournament at Gamescom, and we did a tournament then also in October. And so we used these milestones of the guild playing, of Gamescom, of NFT awarding tournament in October as kind of our deliverable milestones to say, are we on the right track?
Definitely. Have you noticed, is esports a big component of your community building? Or
It's something we're thinking about. So we've built a game that is right now an open world game where you can jump in and out whenever you want. There is a PvP event that happens like a domination mode every so often that people will congregate to and fight over, and they get rewarded and prizes like that. We also have a world boss that will appear and just try to devastate the battlefield. What we're now going to do next with our next patch and our next closed beta is actually have session-based PvP. So team balancing, session-based, very focused PvP. We'll have it be either just all mechs or all soldiers or all aircraft. We'll have different battles like that. So, and to get in each one is going to kind of require a different level of my investment into the game. So that's a bit of a monetization ploy, but also, are you going to put your stakes up?
Welcome. We have
bro?
Mark, the CEO of Shrapnel. If you want to give a brief intro on yourself.
Hi, I'm Mark Long, CEO of Shrapnel. I'm a 27-year game industry veteran. I've made 32 titles in that period of time on everything from Sega Genesis to Rift, and this is my first Web3 game.
Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Shrapnel? We introduced MetalCore a little
I've been
bit.
taking all your time, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry to show up late. Shrapnel's a extraction FPS shooter. It's one of the first AAA games, like MetalCore. And we're embracing Web3 in a number of unique ways, not just NFTing objects in the game, but using it in some novel ways. For example, our game is a UGC platform, and one of the problems when you have players creating their own content, like in Roblox, is discovery. So we're using a staking mechanism for, maybe Matt and I love a certain collective's map, and we want to promote it. So we can stake against it, and then we're curating content for the community, and then being rewarded for that.
So I've already kind of ran through this with him a little bit, but what made you decide to build Shrapnel with blockchain? Because that, I think, back when you guys started, was a dicey decision, right? It wasn't necessarily gaining the mainstream adoption, especially in North America.
Yeah, I've been an OG investor for a while, but was kind of dismissive of altcoins until about 2019. And then I saw what Axie Infinity had achieved, like this $12 billion market cap in a game I'd never even heard of, which is ridiculous. That's $12 billion, you'd be in the top 20 publicly held companies. So that made me want to investigate what exactly is going on here. And then I realized it was a blue ocean of opportunity for developers because of regulatory uncertainty. A publicly held company can't jump into Web3 right now. And so we have an opportunity to be one of the first and build bigger franchises. And Matt and I really are swinging for the fence. You know, we're not trying to make a B level game or some of the games that you've seen previously in Web3. We're trying to make a AAA game, which means years of development and hundreds of people working on it and tens of millions of dollars.
I would argue you guys are doing it the right way, right? We've seen a lot of Web3 games come in and not quite hit the mark because they weren't making a good game, right? It was too focused on the monetization. So in what ways does blockchain complement your game? And what is some of the feedback you've received from players on both sides, whether it be traditional gamers or Web3 gamers?
Well, as I said, we're a UGC platform, so players are going to be able to mint their own weapon skins, game tags, decals. With the addition of AI, in about a year, you'll be able to do text to mesh, text to texture, which is we didn't anticipate, 1 year ago would be possible. And that'll be huge for players to be, you know how successful you could be with Mid-Journey, right? Imagine being able to create 3D models. You're going to be able to take our game and turn it into your game. And then because everything is on chain, anything that you create of value, no matter what happens to it going forward, you're going to be able to share in the rewards of that value.
For sure. How are you getting feedback from your player base to make sure that blockchain is truly enhancing your games? And how do you make sure they stay educated and up to date on what's going on to make sure they're happy with the direction it's going?
Well, blockchain players they're very loyal community. In my world, in normal Web 2 games, as a developer, you're either a god or an ass clown. There's nothing in between. It's very hard to build a community because you're, especially in my category or our category, the competition's just so rough. But one of the things I'm enjoying about Web3 development is how with us the community is. We already have 100, we're in early access, the game isn't even available 24/7, and yet we have 100,000 registered, about 40,000 playing every time we bring the game up. And it's kind of unprecedented. It's kind of like that, crypto bros are kind of like that old joke, how do you know if someone's a vegan? Oh, don't worry, they'll tell you, right? So game developers are the same, or game Web3 players are the same way. They're just deeply committed, almost religiously committed, and it's a fun community to develop for.
It's a kind of a known secret. There's a lot of passionate gamers out there for Web3. There's a very good fan base. I mean, it's really, really encouraging. Our players are similar to yours, which is they just get in, they talk all the time, they're very supportive. It's really an awesome experience to be making a game that the fans are loving and they're supporting, and there's a lot of demand for it. And I think everyone should take away from this that there is action here.
Yeah.
And we need more games, more good games in Web3.
Absolutely. Do you have any advice that you would give other game devs, game studios on some of the challenges you face to help them not fall into any pitfalls, or that way we can continue building the community and making better games and supporting Web3 adoption?
One thing that's unique about Web3 development is in normal Web 2, if we're in early development and early tests with the community, if the database gets corrupted, we just reset it. It doesn't matter, that we took away your, diamond sword. In Web 3, it has real world value. It's like I took money out of your wallet from you. So we can't screw that up. So you have to be much more meticulous. We have to audit the software at an unprecedented level. For me, at least, it has to be completely bulletproof. So if you're a Web 2 developer considering Web 3, you have to take into account that complexity. But there are APIs available that are going to simplify your job, and we're producing one of them. We'll be announcing the API that we're using in Shrapnel called Mercury soon, and making it available to other developers.
I think, making a good game is the most important thing. Having a vision of what's good for the player, what you want to play, playing your game every week, iterative development. The tool sets for making games have really come a long way. So it's making a good game is easier. Putting all the pieces together is the hard part now, where we put all the ecosystem, the platforms, the tokens, all of that, making it work together is where you have to put a lot of thought into and continue to iterate and make sure, check in. Am I doing this properly? Get feedback from the community is really key.
For sure. Traditional gaming, or I guess the world of traditional gaming has been, we can easily say tough, and it's getting tougher, right? We're seeing a lot of these indie studios get absorbed. We're seeing people unable to get funding or unable to finish their games because they can't get funding or they get absorbed. Do you think integrating blockchain and utilizing this tool is a solid answer for some of these young gaming founders and indie studios?
100%. 100%. This is the way to go. I've always been developing games that are on the cutting edge of technology, whether it was some of the first free-to-play games, some of the first games on Steam, some of the very first games on mobile, some of the very first games on even Win95 going back that far. I've always been there. I see blockchain Web3 as the next step that's essential to player ownership, to the evolution of games, and I think it's the place to be.
Perhaps some of you know that the House passed legislation last week, a bill called FIT 21, and it looks like it's grandfathering underneath the Jobs Act, where you created a crowdfunding mechanism where you could raise, or at least under this bill, you can raise up to $8 million with an unregistered security, a token, within 12 months. And could be a huge advantage for independent developers whose budgets run in the kind of $8 to $10 million range. The ability to finance your own game and not have to get it picked up by publishers could be a huge boon to the independent part of the industry.
That's a key point. We have to stick with that.
I think it also will give game studios their power back, right? Because ultimately they want to support gamers, and we're not seeing that as much anymore, right? And I think that is really going to push you guys and other Web3 games that are coming up. Like, they want to support their gamers, they want to support their community, and they actually listen. So, can you tell me some success stories about just how you've engaged with your community and grown it? What did that look like in the beginning versus now?
I mean, I talked about how we did all the betas and all the tournaments and grew it slowly and steadily. We've just finished up closed beta 2, where we had over 100,000 hours of game time played. That matches a metric that I've seen in other games that we launched way back when. So it's like, I look at these metrics and I see the user activity and I said, this is aligning to a successful game. This aligns to a CCU number in the 2,000 to 10,000 range, which is an extremely successful product, right, on the PC side. So I'm seeing it all come together, and it's really awesome, and I think this business is definitely ready to launch.
We saw 100% CAGR in active wallets in the last year. It's doubled, and that's a really great sign. Active wallets are probably going to be the major metric in Web3.
Here's another point. What's cool about Web3 that doesn't exist anywhere else is we can do partnerships between our games, right? We can help each other. And I think if you guys think about what's in it for me, why am I listening to this thing? If you're going to make a game, like, we're all trying to make this work together. So let's, we're open at MetalCore. We're going to do other deals with other people. We're going to do something with Shrapnel. You may have played this game. And that's what's really cool about Web3, I think, is the collaboration and cooperation in game space, which would never exist in the past publisher paradigm.
Yeah, it's very much, it's not a me versus you.
No, we're here to make good things, good games, entertainment, and put money in our pockets.
Absolutely. Would you argue that the business relationship building is just as important as the trust building with the gamers?
100%.
And what have you done? Because when you guys started, I feel like everyone was building so quietly, right? 2020 and 2021, as these games were getting ready. How did you find each other and reach out and start supporting each other?
I think it's just generally part of the ethos of Web3. Plus, we don't talk a lot about interoperability because Matt and I know that's a really hard problem. And why would you want your sniper rifle in my soccer game? So interoperability is largely a very specific thing that relates to what Matt said, that it is going to be direct relationships that we cooperate in. But that's also a fun part of this media, is transformation in between.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, which is we have the ability to actually share users and reward users for playing in both products and enjoying time. You see, they just came out, like I think Square was talking about this, where people used to play AAA games and they would play a game and they move to the next game. I think we're seeing users and players that want to play all these games at the same time, and Web3 enables that, where we're not a wall, right? A walled garden. We're a shared community of users, and we can enhance that experience for the players.
Absolutely. I would argue, I think just because the nature of Web3, you aren't having to jump through all of the same hoops as you would a giant game studio, the Microsoft, Activision. In the next 3 to 5 years, I imagine the landscape is going to be totally different. What do you guys think is going to happen? Like, what do you foresee in the future of Web3 gaming?
I think it's going to happen very suddenly. It might take a while, but when it happens, it will happen quickly. And the reason I believe this is in early free-to-play, when the App Store was released, and we were in a price discovery phase, like are mobile games $15? Are they $7? Are they 99 cents? There was a game that came out called Mega Jump, and they did the next logical thing. They made the game free. And then within 10 months, the entire App Store in game category flipped free-to-play. I think what's holding us back right now is regulation. As I've mentioned a couple of times, publicly held companies can't hold cryptocurrencies because it's unregulated. But there's a bill in the House, there's one in the Senate, and I think we're moving towards regulation within a year or two, and then that will make it finally able for the larger publishers to jump into this. But of course, Matt and I will be 4 or 5 years ahead of them.
I think Mark's got a great answer there. I think the regulation is going to help a lot. I think some user behavior changes will also help as we bring more good games to the market. And we'll see people really rewarding the good gameplay experiences. And they want to stay in this world and they want to come back every day. And because they not only enjoy the game, they also want to be doing their token economy stuff, but they really do enjoy playing. And that's the feedback that we're getting, and I see it in Shrapnel too, is that this is where people want to experience and spend their game time.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're running down to the last like 5-ish minutes.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Is there anything that's coming up with MetalCore that you want to talk about? Are there any announcements? Any hype?
Yeah, we have a closed beta 3 coming out. That will be our session-based PvP. We're doing a lot of big economy changes as we see the thing. We're going to be flipping on the store, and people can actually come in and buy using fiat or crypto, which is really where we got to see the economy going. And then there's a token generation event on the horizon. So, crazy times.
It's amazing.
For us, like any major game franchise, we have transmedia ambitions. I think to be a successful franchise now, you have to at least plan for success.
Yeah.
So we've already produced 2 series of comics. We've got 2 graphic novels coming out, and that allows us to explore the backstory of the characters that you play in the game. And then I work with a fellow named Mike Suarez, one of the founders of Rockstar, and he and I produced a transmedia Bible that includes all the plot lines and characters that we can hand over to a producer or writer for adaptation. And we've all seen the success of now Fallout. You guys may have seen that Tomb Raider got greenlit for live action anime, and there'll be 2 new games coming out there. And those are revitalizing older franchises. So I also believe in transmedia, or at least aspire to design in case you're successful. It's not that I want to direct. It's just that I've seen friends go, holy shit, like I never expected this game to be the one that broke. And now I don't have any idea what to do on other media because I never thought about that.
And then any advice or any final advice for the dreamers, entrepreneurs, builders that are looking to build a blockchain game?
There's still plenty of room in gaming. I'm totally amazed that we haven't seen a AAA RPG get announced yet. That is a blue ocean of opportunity.
Why do you think that is? Sorry to interrupt.
Well, RPGs are really hard. If we were at a Web3 game and I said I'm going to go make a military, paramilitary FPS, I might as well just set the money on fire in the parking lot because it's such a competitive category, right? But Web3 is a moat around us that allows us, just like free-to-play did, go after the incumbents. And I'm not saying I'm going to be World of Warcraft, but that's what Riot did. They went direct to consumer, free-to-play, and they have almost if not literally one of the biggest games in the world, the biggest game in the world?
If I was, giving advice, I'd say look at where there's games that haven't been delivered in the space, and you can build something quickly and fast and get it up and playable. I think if you're going to be pitching to any VCs, any exchanges, you need good playability, and that's what they're looking for. So try to get to a really good first playable.
Would you argue playability is way more important than pitching blockchain? Because I have seen some investors are so blockchain forward, they want to see that token generation event.
You have to have the how it works together with a token. I mean, you got to at least have some sense of this working, right? Whether it be in-game currency or something. So, yeah, you definitely have to deliver that.
Sure. I guess any final comments with these?
Thanks for having us, Skylar. Yeah. I'm going to exit left, but I'm going to go to the back of the stage, and I'll be there if anybody wants to ask questions.
Yeah, because there's no Q&A.
Okay.
So, cool. Thank you guys so much.